Hey, welcome back. Today, I'm honored to have Dr. Harris Dzubur from Chicago with us. He's the president at Oko Medical Eyecare in Elwood Park. He also serves as a board member of a local nonprofit. He's adjunct faculty at Midwestern University, and he was named the Illinois Optometric Association's Young Optometrist of the Year 2024. Harris, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. I've been listening to the podcast for some time and excited to be here.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. What is right off the bat? A lot of times I start off with the background and things, and I know you have a great story there. What does it take to become the Young Optometrist of the Year?
I guess you got to get to gray hair. A lot of my friends were riffing me about it, like young. I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna take what I can get. It would have been nice if I got it like 6 years ago. I would have been felt much younger. But I think you have to have a certain amount of sort of experience and that you give into the profession, and that you've done outreach. And because when you're filling out your when they ask you that you've been nominated, can you fill out all this information? It's like, what have you done here? What have you done politically? What have you done for the profession? So it's a list that I had to fill out. It took a while filling it out. So you didn't feel young when you're filling that stuff out. Like, wow, it ages you. Like, wow, I've been around for 10 years almost.
Right.
So so it took about nine point something years to get it, but I'll take it.
Wow.
I appreciate it. I feel like it's owed to the people that came before me, because for me to get here, a lot of other people had to do a lot of work and a lot of sort of community outreach and things like that in optometry for us new generations to be considered young optometrists of the year. So it's about people that came before us, and now it's our turn to kind of move the baton forward. And then it also involves our mentorship of the younger generation that will come after us. So there'll be more young optometrists of the year. Every year there'll be a new one. So I'm done with mine. I can't do it again, but I can definitely help coach and help bring up the new generation.
Yeah, for sure. That's so and they name that normally in the summer or towards the end of the year, right? So like you're
Yeah.
still the reigning MVP of this arena
Most valuable provider for now. I call it.
for now. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very cool. All right. So tell us a little bit about, your background and kind of your obviously, I mean, with running your own practice for 3 years or in your third year, I think you said, and you're working, getting some experience with an ophthalmology clinic before that. I mean, and then all the things that you do. I mean, you obviously have a strong passion for what you're doing. Otherwise, I mean, why stay so busy? So, like, where does that passion come from? It's a little bit about your background and kind of what is the bigger reason why you're doing all this work in the industry.
So passion is what drives me. I don't work. I don't consider myself and my staff, I was just overhearing my staff talk to a patient. He's like, he loves this stuff. He comes to work and he drinks and eats this stuff. He doesn't feel like he's at work at all. And I don't. I come here, I have a good time. I see a lot of patients that have turned into friends. And I love seeing new patients because I like to wow the new patients that walk in. And when you have passion, it just comes out, and you can tell when ODs have passion and when other ones are using optometry as a means to an end, as a job. And I gravitate toward passionate ODs because I feel like we have matching energies. And my passion, I would never consider myself like a passionate person in the past, but it's just what people will tell me, like, oh, I can really feel your passion about this. And I think my sort of interest in eyes came on a random drive with my dad. I think I was 13 years old, right about to enter high school, and he was at an ophthalmologist friend of his for an eye exam, and he was like gushing how the small organ can contain so much information about the body and everything like that. And I kind of remember just kind of gazing out the window, and I remember thinking to myself, challenge accepted. I'm going to uncomplicate this complicated organ. And that's the moment that I made the decision to be an eye doctor. And I remember freshman year of high school, they were going around, asking what you want to be when you grow up. And I said eye doctor. And some of the girls in class were like, you play three sports, you're a jock. You're not going to be no eye doctor. And I'm like, I'll see you in 10 years, at the reunion. And I didn't go to the reunion. I couldn't make it, but I wish I could have saw those girls again and say, I told you. So yeah, my trajectory was I'm staying local. I'm going to the local college because it's very strong in science. I'm going to get a bio degree. I'm going to apply to OD school. I didn't want to be ophthalmologist because at that time I didn't want to wear scrubs. And here I am wearing scrubs. I'm like, ophthalmologists, they got to be in hospitals. They got to wear scrubs. I like the sort of optometries. You have one foot, if you want, in medicine, and then you have another foot in like fashion and like, eyewear and like, retail. So you get to kind of play both worlds. You're not stuck in one world. If you want to take a break from, medicine visits or like, reps that present medications, you could just go over here and like, welcome your eyewear rep and have a completely different sort of conversation. That's what I
Yeah.
enjoy about eye care.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and the thing that I heard you say that it's fascinated me more and more as I work with more optometrists in and people in this industry is like just learning how much, like you said, how much the eye does tell you about the whole body. I mean, and I don't even know like 10% of it really, but I'm not a doctor myself, but it just fascinates me that you can use that to tell so many other things. Like when I hear people talk about it, tell the stories, it's just super fascinating to me.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
your passion definitely comes through. Do you feel like when you talk about creating a wow experience or a different kind of experience for all your patients, do you think is that passion that what drives it, or do you have like specific things you guys do in the office to improve that experience?
It's definitely not just a passion project. We definitely do things for a reason. There's a reason for all the madness, right? When I was a young student, the best thing about C was it was always free. I went to school in Texas, and I was the one that was waking up on Sundays and going to catch C at the school, and all my friends were still sleeping. They're like, "Why would you do that? We still have to study for tests and things like that." But I would always gain something from CE that I couldn't learn from class, whether it was about business, whether it about what was about experience. I remember sitting in on a CD and it was all eye doctor, all docs and me. And the presenter was talking about like Disney, like how Disney does things differently and how the Ritz-Carlton does things a certain way to like, leave sort of a mark on their customers. So their customers always remember where they were and how that and just kind of going that extra mile, like anticipating and just like making that whole entire experience just memorable. And I wanted to create something like that that's eye related. And there's a lot of doctors out there that create, their unique type of experiences of their practices. So I had a vision that I wanted to make such a friendly place that as soon as you walk through that door, we hit you with the welcome, things like that. You're not allowed to get past the front door without us interacting with you first. And little things, I built a little cafe in my kitchen where we have like a menu, iced coffee, regular coffee, tea, iced tea, Coke Zero, cappuccino, regular, like, all these different sort of drinks. And I'm walking around the office. If I walk into the front of the house and I'll say, "Hey, can I get you something to drink? And can I get you water?" And I'll start listing all the things we have. And the patient's like, "Oh my God." They get taken back by what I'm offering. I feel like a bartender sometimes.
Yeah, that's cool. That just reminds me, I kind of forgotten about this, but that reminds me, I've been a virtual practice myself for so long, but back in the day when I first started, we had a physical office. We did something very similar to that. We had a lot of drink options, and then what we do, people are just like at that time, they're only coming to see me two, three, maybe four times a year, but usually it's like twice. We'd offer them the menu the first time in, and then we'd, note that in their file. And like when they came in again, we'd lead with that. Like, do you want this drink, the same drink you had last time, or do you want something else? We'd hand them the menu. Totally forgot about that, but that's a really cool little nice little touch. So it's like all these little micro touches that are building up to a unique experience,
Through the
right?
experience, right? And
Yeah.
and and it plays off psychology too. Like, when you're offered something, even if you turn it down, you almost feel indebted to the person that offered it to you. So, I talk to my staff about it's more than just being nice. There's a psychological aspect to it where
Hmm.
we're creating a relationship with this patient just by, offering a snack or like, no kid leaves here without a juice box. I've got three kids and I've got, juice boxes. I'm giving out juice boxes every day. And the kids love coming here. I was like, I'll ruin your teeth, but you're going to see real good. So yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. That's cool. So when you're talking about like your bigger mission and like what do you want to accomplish? Like what's your vision for the change you want to make, whether it's in the industry or your community or whatever size, whatever however far your vision goes. Like when all is said and done, like what type of impact are you hoping to have?
Okay. Hopefully in a couple years, I have a group of associate doctors that I've sort of collected. I have two student doctors rotating through my clinic at any one point, so I get to kind of have my pickings of like quality doctors, and I stay in good relations with the ones that I really admire or think they're going to be unique moving forward. So hopefully, when we do this podcast again in a couple of years, I have more than one Oko, because I usually joke around like no one only has one Oko. Usually they have two or you know. So hopefully I have more than one location. My current location is pretty large. The building, it's about 5,000 square feet, and we only use about half of it. So the goal is to fill it up, fill out the other half, bring in. Hopefully, I'll bring in an associate, knock on wood, in the next couple of months. And then once we get that associate up and running, and they're kind of I'm going to brand every one of my doctors. I want every one of my doctors to be more than just an optometrist. I don't want I'm not looking for doctors just to come here and do a 9 to 5. I want them to be great at their field. If they're pediatrics, I want them to be doing posters on pediatrics and going to conferences, and I'll pay for this stuff because I want to invest in my people. And I've always kind of believed in that. If I just invest in my people, they're going to take care of me long term. And because they're just going to be better, more confident in what they're doing. And hopefully in the next couple of years, I'll have a shorter schedule so I could chase my kids around on the soccer field, and I'll have really great doctors that I'm supporting and growing in their leadership positions. And hopefully, a couple practices. We'll see where we end up, but I'm not going to limit myself to anything, you know. So that's my professional side. Work hard now so I can work less later. And on my, sort of community side, I started with a couple of other folks, a nonprofit, a community nonprofit that kind of organizes like community events, whether it's like ice skating for like, and it's Bosnian community related, right? So we kind of hover around Bosnian special events, whether it's like, the Bosnian 4th of July that's like coming up, or like different things that surround our community, to foster community engagement and to bring up the younger generation to kind of to interact with the college kids, with the high school kids, and with the smaller kids. So whenever we organize something, it's with that in mind. And I'm lucky enough to be working with some amazing people that are not in healthcare. They're in their other different fields. So we kind of bring in our ideas from our different experiences. And there's much more creative people, I think, on my nonprofit team than me. And I get to pull some of that creativeness and bring it into my business. We create some really unique experiences, and like whether it's exhibit or whether it's like, an event. We're going to be planning like a golfing fundraiser. So that golfing fundraiser later in the year will raise funds so we can do a special art exhibit about Bosnian kids in war that's going to be shown in New York, but we want to bring it to Chicago. So things like that I can give back to my community. And my
Yeah.
wife always jokes around that she doesn't have to be involved in anything because I'm over involved in everything. And she'll joke around, he's involved enough for both of us. She's like, I don't have to do any
Yeah.
more. So that's my yang to my yin. She's much more mellow and a homebody, and I think I'm extroverted to a certain point. And then I regain my energy by sort of like just like sitting on my couch and staring off at a TV for a couple of days to kind of regenerate my energy.
Yeah, no, that's all amazing. Are you sure? Like, I don't know if our wives have met. Like, I think I hear the same thing from my wife.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
it's crazy. But very cool. So like very active, very community driven. I love it. All that we've talked about so far is like a lot of good things. But we can also learn from like people's failures or mistakes or tough, challenges that they've overcome. What do you think? And specifically like related to getting to the point in your practice where you're at now, what has been some of the toughest challenges in bringing your ideas into reality?
Oh man, it starts with just purchasing a practice. When
Mm,
you're buying a practice, you're not starting off cold. You have to deal with the other person who has to sell you the practice. And I like to joke around, high performance male. I'm fast, 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 get everything done right away. I usually say, just do it now. And when you're dealing with another person that's maybe older than you and does things at a different speed, I think a lot of my stress when I was buying this place came out from the lack of efficiency from the person that was selling me the practice. And I always try to remind myself that life's not a straight line, it's a bunch of zigzags. And I got to the practice. There's things that I had to overcome initially. The practice wasn't set up with computers. I had to put computers in all rooms. The rooms were packed like, I guess doctors accumulate things as they go through life, and these rooms just look like storage units. And there's like that monk saying, cluttered room, cluttered mind, and I cannot have
yeah.
clutter. and the practice was colored, Colgate green, and there was no, the previous owner never sent out any sort of communication to the patients that she was selling. So when I showed up, people were like, who are you? So I had a whole, couple of months of introducing myself to people and explaining who I am and why am I the new owner. So, I every time you think you're coasting and the coast is clear, literally the next day something will hit you. Just this year, I bought the building. When I bought the practice, I consulted with some of my, colleagues that have done it. And, one of my mentors is the ophthalmologist that I worked for 10 years. And he's like, buy the property. You want to be your own landlord. So I bought the property, but then, with property comes property issues. I bought a practice and I found out the two rooftop units that did AC died and in the middle of winter. So that was like the first challenge. Then this year we're updating the roof. We have to close down in the middle of April. And it's your third year, so you're really juiced up. You want to hit your numbers and beat the last year. And so now we have to close down for a week. And I love the practice has like this old style kind of arching wooden roof. And those roofs don't always, hold up. So your insurance is going to say now you have to go add metal rotting and like support, to meet the new requirements and codes and things like that. So it's always something. And I guess as I get older and more into practice, I don't let it keep me up at night. I know, there's nights where, everyone's sleeping and it's just you and your thoughts. And, that's probably what ages us. So then you start looking out, how do I reduce the stress? How do I live my life healthier? Because there's always going to be something new upcoming that's going to stress us, or there's going to, throw a wrench in your big grand plans. So my thing over the last 3 years is learning how to deal with those kind of things. And I'm not great at it, but I'm getting better at it every year. You talk to yourself, you calm yourself, So those kind of things, there's always challenges. If you're in private practice, it's never a smooth ride. You'll run smooth for a little bit, and then you'll hit a bump. And now I'm starting to get used to that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it goes for like a lot of people in business for themselves, but I don't think any industry is immune to it. It's like when we were talking about that, and knowing that you're a sports fan, like the Mike Tyson, I think it's the Mike Tyson quote comes right up to the top of mind. It's like, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? It's like, all right, I mean, how many times are you gonna be able to endure that? And can you zig or zag out of the way so you're only getting grazed some of those times? Is kind of the extension of that, right? So yeah, very, very good points. What has there been like a victory or success or a challenge you've overcome that's been, you think, more meaningful than others to you that you can think
Um,
of?
hmm. I can't really put like a point on one big challenge that I've overcome. The biggest challenge early was you have to get, people don't really understand what it takes to get a practice and to buy a practice, how much, loan information goes in, like SBA, the bank loan, dealing with the seller. That was like a huge challenge for me. I remember, sitting at laying on the floor in my house one time, kind of woosah, who from what's the movie Bad Boys, when he goes woosah woosah, and my wife looks down at me, she's like, this thing is gonna give you a heart attack. This can't be healthy for you. And I'm like, just let me breathe it out. Let me do some Lamaze. So the biggest overcoming challenge was taking a practice that was very outdated and had no technology, and it still had like paper charts in the back, and bringing it up to a EHR running practice that you can walk into a room, turn on your computer, and see a patient comfortably, updating the technology, like, little things. You walk in and it's so much easier to check vision when you click a clicker versus winding that old school chart. And when you're going through negotiation, that's not really something that's on your mind. But when you walk in day one and you have to work and you're struggling, like, oh, like, let me wind down to this line or things like that, that was a
Oh,
big, like, stress for me. And I like to be able to be me in clinic. One of the biggest investments that I made early on is into my manager. And I think once I had and my manager worked with me for 8 years at the ophthalmology office, and she
okay.
just happened to leave the office about 8 months after, I was here. And once she kind of came in and took over the day-to-day stuff that was sort of just dragging me down, it was like a huge boulder lifted off my back, and then I can finally be me because I don't feel for the first like, 8 months of this journey, I wasn't really enjoying private practice ownership. I'm like, man, and there's doctors out there that like to do everything. I know what I don't like to do, and I was willing to. My first year, I took no salary. I wanted to invest that into the people around me and have those people so I can get back to being myself. And my passionate about eye care, about dry eyes. And it's hard to have that passion when you're dealing with HR stuff, when you're dealing with payroll, when you're dealing things that I really don't care about. You know, I just don't have any passion for that. That for me made it feel like a job. Once my manager came in and she took that off my plate, it was like I could breathe again. And ever since then, we've been just, going, going, going. And I'm able to achieve growth and, hit my goals and, and help my team hit their goals because I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. And I commend doctors that can go out and do all that stuff because that's not me. I can never, take over, the HR department or work on the billing and and you got VSBs, you've got IMEDs, you've got medical billing. I'm very efficient at billing or at coding my exams. I've spent 10 years with ophthalmology. I feel like I could teach these classes. And but the things that I didn't like to do was the stuff in the back of the house. There's like, it was just like a way, like it just felt like my life was being, washed away, doing that stuff.
Sure.
So when I got that, that was like one of the biggest hurdles that was like, whew, let's go now. Now it's time to, really have fun.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that is real meaningful because you're talking about not just stuff that, you may or may not like to do, but also, I mean, what I'm hearing is that this was stuff that was bringing your energy down and not allowing you to be you the rest of the day when you really needed to be, right?
Yep. Yep.
So energetically, that made a huge difference. So that's great. Well, look, I know we're about out of time, and I definitely want to be respectful of yours. So, in wrapping this up, why don't you think about and give us like a piece of advice, maybe your best piece of advice you'd give to others on their journey in independent optometry? It could be something you've talked about already and want to reiterate or elaborate on a bit, or maybe you thought of something brand new. But what would you say that is?
I'll say what I usually tell my students. I said, be on purpose. Everything you
Mm,
want, do it on purpose. If you want to specialize in contact lenses as you're going through your journey of learning, get yourself into the rooms where there's contact lenses, especially contact lenses being fit. If you want to do peds, purposely find a peds rotation. Do everything on purpose because if you just like take a couple of rotations just to get your rotations done and you want to do something in the specialty sphere of eye care, and there's a lot of specialties you could choose from. If you haven't done it on purpose, you're not going to have that experience, and experience comes at a cost. And it's not easy to just jump into a practice where they do what you want to do, and they're going to bring you up and teach you everything you want. So you got to be purposeful from a very early standpoint to get to where you want to go. So my thing is always do everything on purpose. Don't leave anything to chance. Go for it, 100%, and get yourself into those rooms you want to be in.
amazing. I love it. Harris, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to drop all this valuable insights on us today. Appreciate it greatly, and hopefully our paths will cross again here in the near future.
I hope to see you at some of the conferences, Eric. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully we can do this again sometime.
That'd be awesome.
When I'm
Yeah.
more gray, when I'm more gray,
Any more grain, you have more than one Oko, right?
when I have two Okos, hopefully.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much, man.